The run. I recently found out that my wife had an affair on me. We have been together for over 15 years, married for 5, and both are 32. She told me it happened 3 times and was an on-off thing with the same person, and months would go by between them even talking. My wife is a nurse and he's a surgeon. I will start off and say for 10 years I made my mistakes. I never cheated, but I made my share of stupid mistakes. Early on I would try and impress my friends and try to talk to other girls or message other girls to hang out, etc., and she would find out. Or I would lie and say I'm at my friend's house and I'd be somewhere else at a party and she would find out. There were times I'd go out with my friends and never call, text her for the whole time and act like she didn't exist in my life. I was out with my friends wanting to have fun and not be bothered. As we got older, I grew out of that stage, but I still made my fair share of mistakes. I'd lie about certain things or I'd hide things from her, and it would eventually come out. After all my mistakes and screw-ups, she stayed and did nothing but love me and never did anything back to hurt me. The last straw for her, as she puts it, was when our son was born and I was terrible at being a father for the first time. I was excited to be a father, but I definitely wasn't ready and didn't fully understand what it entailed, and 99% of the work fell onto her. In her words, I made her feel like she was never good enough and felt so worthless and didn't think I loved her and was just comfortable and stayed. So, she did it sometime in 2018 for the first time. It happened and then they didn't really speak at all. In June of 2019, while the pain was still there for my actions in the past, she ended up having a miscarriage. She said it put her in a deep dark hole and made her feel like a failure and worthless and everything, and then ended up doing it a second time with him, which resulted in a pregnancy with my second child, who is not biologically mine. When she found out she was pregnant, she got a test done and the test said that I was 99% the father, so she kept it because she didn't want to terminate a child for her mistakes if it came back his. After the second time, she told him, "This is wrong of me and I can't do this, it's not fair," etc. At least that's what she told me. Fast forward, in February of 20, my daughter was born. Through all this time we were a family and going through COVID with a newborn at home. Through all this time from 18 and on, I still continued to make stupid mistakes and hide crap from her, making her feel the same way. The last time she did it was October or November of 20. After it happened, she realized it's not helping her with how she's feeling, maybe in the moment, but that's it. She told him, "This is done for good and no more of this." At this time my daughter started to change in her looks. We are both Irish and pale, and my daughter's skin was a shade darker. A fair partner was Indian. So, months goes by and she feels terrible for what she did and tries to make it a happy family at home. I thought it was her just doing normal things, but now I know it's because of her actions and felt bad. So, after a few months of her not changing and skin tone staying the same, she got another test done and found out that the first test she got done was false and it's actually not my child. Once she found this out, she was basically suicidal, went on meds and started going to therapy. This went on from April 21st and she's still in therapy now. I found out for myself December of 21. So, from April the 21st of December 21, I felt so bad cause I thought my wife was having depression and anxiety because it runs in her family, and she told me it's still stemming from the pregnancies because she got it bad after both of them. So, I found out obviously the real reason. I asked her why you did it and she said because I still loved you and wanted to be with you, but it was nice to feel wanted and you didn't make me feel that way. If you did, this would have never happened. She was going to therapy because she thought I was going to leave her and she felt so horrible for what she did, and she finally broke from all my mistakes and making her feel the way felt. She said it's no excuse for what she's done and I do not deserve what happened to me. She's so down on herself every day knowing she could have potentially destroyed our family and can see all the pain she has caused me. She said he lied and manipulated her into feeling a certain way and saying his wife makes him feel the same way and is only staying cause of the kids, and he made her feel good, which I failed at. Since this has all came to light, my wife has broken down in tears multiple times over what she did. She can't look herself in the mirror without being disgusted at the person she became. She's been so down on herself and I genuinely feel she regrets doing it, and if could go back in time she would have never done it. She's also blocked his number on her phone, doesn't follow him on social media or anything like that, and I can look through her phone at any time to check and see if there's anything there. Basically, I'm asking, am I wrong for wanting to move past this and try and be a happy, healthy family? I know the person I was is a terrible person and I pushed her to the breaking point. Major reason I'm still here and didn't leave her. We are currently in counseling together and both individually. We both are beating ourselves up for our actions that brought us here. I know I am at fault for getting us to this position we are in. I love her so much and really want this to work out. She always says we need a fresh start and leave the past and past. It can't be changed. What's done is done and need to focus on future. It's not just my wife, it's my family, it's her family I've become so close with. There's so much more to it. As for my daughter, yes, it is extremely hard, but the first 2 years of her life have been with me and I love that little girl like no other. I love her as if she was biologically mine. And it's not her fault for the situation. All she's done was being born into this world. It's not her fault for this, and it's not easy to just drop her out of my life and screws hers up and live in a broken home and have the feeling of not being wanted by a father figure. Her life shouldn't be a mess because it was created by someone else. He doesn't do surgeries at her hospital every day, and the days he is there she tells me he's there, so it doesn't seem she's hiding anything, and will call to say hello etc. He's been there 3 times in the past 3 months this has come out. As much as I'd love to do something to him, I'm not going to. It'll end up causing more of a mess than anything. My comment: someone else mentioned maybe her emotional problems resulted from the AP refusing to marry her. Is he married? If so, shouldn't his wife know about his extracurricular activities? If AP was doing her, he most likely was doing other women at the places where he practices. He must be a real prize. So, who knows how many partners he, and your wife by extension, has had over the years. You know for a fact your wife didn't use protection. Get an STD panel for your own sanity and safety. Insist your wife have one done as well if you intend being intimate with her ever again. Story 2. Here are the facts I have come up with. He doesn't love me since he had cheated on me both emotionally and physically for 1.5 years. We want to try to work things out only because we have 2 young children together. If no children, we wouldn't talk to each other. He would have left long time ago as he said. But now he is willing to compromise and reconcile because he wants to have the kids with me. It's a package deal to him. It's not me that he wants, but the kids. He cheated emotionally initially. I forgave him since it was only emotional to me back then. But then it went to physical. He had been lying to me for 1.5 years because he said he hadn't talked to her every time I asked about it. Now he had been forced to come clean and he apologized and seemed remorseful. But he didn't do any within the years. Should I give him another chance? Does he deserve a 3rd chance? He didn't treat me well in the past during our 10 years relationship. So, he didn't care me much even before he started cheating. Now he realized he has been an asshole to me the whole time and never gave me a fair chance. He promised he is fully committed to change, to work on himself. He will never cheat in this lifetime anymore. But he did tell me back then if he ever slept with that woman, he wouldn't dare to come home. He did come home every night even after the deed. Should I believe him this time? This third party or the other woman that he had the affair with is an ex-girlfriend from 20 years ago. They never had the closure, although he left her after a year of dating at that time. They never had slept back then since she was a Christian. He got married with someone else and divorced a few years later. Then we met and we got married, with different, wrong reasons. I wanted to start a family since I was in my mid-30s, and he unwillingly did it because I took good care of him, but he didn't really love me that much when we got married. We kind of both knew we were not compatible the whole time. We had kids a few years later after 8 cycles of IVF because of his genetic problem. This other woman, also married and miserable in her own marriage, and he reconnected 1.5 years ago when our second child was born. He came clean after he was gone to see her for 6 hours 3 weeks after our second child was born. I told him to stop talking to her. He said he stopped but in fact just kept lying each time. Starting in last July, he went back to work in office so they started seeing each other. According to him, they met 5 times and he slept with her. They did it in her car each time, for at least 4 times. Things should be easier to fix if he really stopped back then and tried to focus on us, but he didn't. I suggested couple therapy back then, but he didn't bother to do anything. I regret so much every day that I didn't check his phone the last entire year. I should also have kicked him when it was just emotional, but I just gave birth at that time, so I needed all the help. I know this husband of mine that if he is fully committed, he would get the job done nicely. He said he is fully committed to this relationship and will try to be a good husband and father this time. I feel bad for myself if he really could change and I just give away the good version of this man that I reshaped to another woman. Should I consider taking him back and hope for the best? Maybe he really will change this time. But he is 45 already with 1 failed marriage before me. He didn't cheat in that marriage. Accordingly, to him, he never cheated before. But even fully committed is probably not enough for me anymore. I need someone who truly loves and values me, which he never did in the past. I was never a wife he expected, although he said I had many good wife materials. But we were not compatible and didn't know how to compromise. He said he cheated because he felt miserable with me, especially my parents moved in to help us with the kids since our first child was born 4 years ago. He felt he was left alone in an island because the 3 of us, me and my parents, had many different opinions and views from him about many things while living together. I understand the part that he said he didn't get what he wanted, such as support and empathy from me, especially after my parents moved in. I got that he didn't get it from me, so he ended up getting that from someone else. But in fact, we all had sucked up each other the past few years, including my parents. We were all miserable. Now he got kicked out after I discovered the cheating. He said he finally realized that he shouldn't have treated my parents like that in the past. He took them and also me for granted. My parents have been trying their best to help out as much as they could. They are in their 70s already. Other parents would have left if they were treated that bad. They only stay because of their grandkids. They never got paid and do much longer hours than nannies. I had felt miserable since he told me he fell in love with the other woman 1.5 years ago. I thought he did stop but just didn't care about me the whole time. I told him to move out several times last year because I told him that I couldn't live like this anymore even before the discovery. I told him that my 2022 couldn't be again like last year before. But in my heart, I still wanted it to work. I even booked our first couple therapy session a week before I found out the discovery, hoping that was my last resort. I'm very old-fashioned, so physical cheating has always been a deal breaker to me. If he didn't sleep with her, I would have taken him back as the first time. I could probably accept it if it was a fling or one-night stand or he physical abused me. He clearly knew this part of me since I told him that before. I still don't know how to get over it. I don't know if I ever will. I have been seeing therapists on my own besides our couple therapist once a week. I hope I could get over it and forgive him. I know if I can't, then I won't be happy in my future relationships, whether with him or someone else. As both my own therapist and our couple therapist pointed out that I still love this man. If not, I wouldn't feel that angry when I talked about it, him. I understand it's a conflicting feeling that I also hate him for hurting me so bad. He ruined our marriage and damaged my life. My life was simple before. He made me a worse person over the past 10 years. But I also don't want our kids to grow up in a broken family. If he could really change, he could be a good husband and a good father. But can I trust him that he could finally leave his mistress behind this time? He said he didn't think about her until he started to feel miserable and she reached out to him a few years ago. He said he had always pushed her away when things were okay between me and him back then. They just kept in touch by saying hello with each other every once a while. I really don't know if she was the cause of our toxic marriage. He said it was our bad communication. During our marriage, he rarely opened up his feelings to me since he didn't know how because he felt I was very difficult to talk to. I tried to talk to him but he always pushed me away. It has been almost 6 weeks since the discovery day. He hasn't done much to me the entire time except booking appointments for our couple therapy sessions. He said during our last session with the therapist that I don't seem to have desire to work with him. On the other hand, he has been spending a lot more times with the kids since he only gets to see them on weekends now. He even read many books to our 4-year-old the first weekend he came back to visit. He didn't read these many books with her all these years. In the past, he always just hid in our room and played with his phone. We felt like we gave him too much me time back then. So now he is a changed man. I honestly haven't done much with him these days either since I'm still not sure if I should invest more time or energy with him. I don't want to get hurt again. I do want to participate our family events which normally I plan since he is a homebody. I did give in a lot more than him in this relationship. I took care of him, maybe not fully emotionally. I did love this man with all my heart before even he didn't treat me well in the past. Maybe that's why it hurts so much. How could I ever trust him again? He's going to leave his brother's place where he has been staying. So, he will have his own place next to our building as he even planned to move out before the discovery. I don't know if he will keep in touch with the other woman. But he said he already removed all his social media accounts including Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp where they usually connected to each other before. He even allowed me to check his phone and installed tracking app too. But do I want to depend my trust based on a device or an app? I don't want a life like that either. I know the decision is mine in the end. But I would like to see if you guys could give me a bigger picture or something I can't see at the moment on my own. What would you do in my case? Especially those who had been in the same boat before. It had been the same woman this whole time. That's why it bothers me even more. It wasn't a fling. How can I ever know if he is totally over her? There was no closure before between them, according to him. They were not able to do it within the past years, according to him. He said they had tried many times. I just feel like I meant nothing to him even I have been with him for a little over 10 years already. I'm really nothing compared to her. But he said he already cut all ties. I don't know if I could trust him again. I live in US. I actually want to have sole custody of both kids although I don't think that's possible. He loves the kids very much obviously. That's why he is willing to work with me here. I may still love him but I really hate the hurt he caused. I don't know if I could ever get over it. He said in the past many times that I was a jealous person. Now he is making my condition even worse. I know at this moment, I don't know how to trust him. I don't know if I ever know how. I just want to forgive him so at least I could move on with my life. You are right that love can't conquer all, especially it has been me loving him most of the time during our time together. Like I told him before, I had been tangoing alone for so long. I got really tired. Now he is trying to ask me to tango with him. Is it really too late? I have been struggling and debating with myself every day too. How come he could just jump ship when he felt miserable? Marriage doesn't work like that. He said he had been feeling guilty the whole time. But how come he never stopped if there were really that much guilt inside him? He must love that woman very much. How could I get over the part that I may never ever replace her in his head? Even he said he didn't think about her until our relationship started to turn bad. I didn't know her existence before but now I do. I did tell him that I won't allow him to come back to this family or kids without loving me first. I don't know if he will be able to do that. I won't allow my kids to live with two parents who don't love each other. But it's also hard to fall in love again with history like this. I may still love him a bit but he apparently doesn't love me at the moment. I told him during our MC session few days ago that we are pulled back to love each other because we have to work on our marriage for the sake of our kids. We both love very much. But love doesn't work like that. It's just not natural. He may be changed for real this time. No one really knows. I won't accept him that soon for sure. I even joked once that by the time he could totally change and could finally learn to forget about the other woman, our kids would be in college by that time. They are 1 and 4 now. He admitted he would have left a few years ago if no kids. Money has never been our issue, so he is not worried about child support. I'm sure he will support the kids financially without a doubt. He does love the kids very much, although he had disrespected a lot in the past. And because of the way he treated me, I already asked him to leave several times last year, even before the discovery. He couldn't do that because of the kids. Since the kids are still young, he wouldn't be able to handle them even if it's 50 over 50. He said the kids would stay with me, so he would just come visit. That's why the new place he'll move into is just next building. But now he realized it's not enough. He misses all those nights that our son slept next to him, although he felt very annoying back then that our boy kicked his face all the time. He misses all the time he could have spent with our older kid, to just simply read a book with her. But I'm the mother and the wife. I am not sure if he misses me at all. He seemed confused what he needed to do until our MC told him that he needed to fix himself besides the marriage. I told him to see his own IC and probably a life coach too before our MC pointed it out to him. He didn't understand why he needed it when I told him that. Then during our second session with the MC, she asked us to talk about good and bad about each other. I spent more than 15 minutes to kind of bash him how he treated me all these years. In the end, he admitted he was a jerk. He obviously knows many of his wrongdoing. I do believe he will be a better man from now on. To me, the question is more about if this man worth saving as a spouse for myself. According to him, he said if he was content like he used to be in the beginning of our marriage, he wouldn't have cheated. He said he was miserable the past few years. But being miserable isn't an excuse to cheat. A lot of people are miserable in their marriage, but not a lot of them cheat. He said he didn't think about the other woman until he became miserable. He became miserable because we didn't know how to compromise or communicate. He said that to our MC, that is our fundamental problem. He said I talked to him a lot back then, but the way I communicated was not effective. He, on the other hand, didn't even communicate much and just shut the door emotionally. But how would I know if next time he is miserable, he won't cheat again? He said he won't ever do that again in this life. But how will I know? He hid it so well. I trusted him and didn't check his phone. All our credit card bills and phone bills look clean. I am just too gullible. I don't know what to do at the moment. I'm obviously not in a rush to sign the divorce paper or get back to him. My clock is not ticking this time. As I told him, I'm not going to settle for less this time. I'm the one in the driver's seat. I don't think I'm demanding. I basically just need a loyal man who loves me and respects me. If I end up with someone else, that person needs to care for my kids too. I did ask him once back then when the affair was emotional in the beginning. I asked if I cheated with someone else behind his back, how would you feel? He said he wouldn't like it either. So obviously, he knew my feelings. He knew how I would feel the entire time. We have been together for over 10 years. So of course, he knows how I think. That's why I don't understand why he would risk everything he had to be with this mistress. He said he was trying to escape his miserable life and even ended up having some fantasy with that woman for a life he never had before. It just sounded like they belonged together since the beginning. It was all because of wrong timing the entire time. He left her after a year of dating 20 years ago. Then he found someone new and got married. Then he got divorced. But she was about to get married with someone else. Then we met and got married. Then both of them became miserable with their marriages and started chatting online. Sigh. Does it ever end? I will definitely keep that in mind if I choose to stay with him. It's really risky, especially it has been just that one woman the whole time. Like he said, he didn't sleep around. He didn't even need to get tested since that woman didn't sleep around either. I don't know if I can trust him or even sleep well at night. Like I told him during our past MC session, do I need to worry all the time whenever I hear a new message comes up on his phone? I don't want that kind of life. I honestly hate that woman. My husband knows about it but told me that I should blame him instead since he was weak. I didn't know what to say to him at that time. I told him that I don't want my kids to be near that woman even if he chose her eventually. Knowing one cheater in their life is enough. He is the father, so the kids got no choice to choose that. But that woman who destroyed my family, I can never forgive her. My individual therapist mentioned something about karma before. I wonder if people like that who do awful things or hurt someone so bad would eventually get their karma. I probably still love my husband, but I also hate him so much at the same time. I was so mad a few weeks ago that I told him both he and the mistress deserve to die. Hit by a car or something. I was furious about what they did to me. Why would they deserve their own happiness? I have been seeing a life coach every 2 weeks after D-Day. I'm going to see a therapist on my own starting next week besides seeing the MC with my husband once a week. I hope they will help me make better decisions. But I really don't know. My head, gut and my heart are not in the same place at the moment. My biggest fear is I don't know how to trust him again. I just don't know how to get over it. I am fully aware if I choose to stay with him, it will be even more difficult than leaving. I have to learn to forgive and trust. He also needs to figure out how to forget that mistress who they had a history for so long. Like he said it too, we don't know if we will get there, or even just the way it was before when he was content with life. But being content isn't even enough for me. I need to be truly happy. I don't want to just have a picture-perfect marriage. At this moment, I'm the one making the call. If I choose to stay, there will still be a marriage. If not, we will go separate ways. We are actually living separately now, but we are not doing it legally. It's just not easy to decide. I will mostly wait and see how everything goes, especially if he has really changed long-term, if he is really fully committed in this relationship. I definitely won't let him come back just for the kids. I'm not part of the package deal. I do work. I can financially support the family and my kids on my own, although I don't make a lot of money. My parents are still living with me and the kids. They used to have a place on their own, but they sold it already, so they got nowhere else to go. When I kicked out my husband 6 weeks ago, his family was trying to help us back together. My husband must have told them that it was my parents who made our marriage bad, since I was always on their side and they always had different opinions. He was isolated and miserable after they moved in. So, his side of the family, mom and sis-in-law, asked me if my parents could live in the new place, next building, that my husband was going to move to. In this case, it will just be the two of us with the kids, so we can rebuild our relationship from scratch. I don't know if I like this idea much. I don't even want my husband to be here for that many hours, even on weekends these days. It's just so hard that we are both forced to do things together as a couple while he doesn't love me and I still hate him very much. I am trying to learn how to forgive is the same question I have been asking myself every day and my life coach every time we talk. I'm not sure if my parents really interfere with my marriage. They even tried to convince me to let him move back these days after years of miserable lives together with him. We were all suffering these years. My husband is the type who is not easy to get along with in the first place. He doesn't know how to communicate. When he is not happy, he just shuts the door emotionally. That's what happened whenever we had a fight in the past. Like he said, we are both very stubborn and didn't know how to compromise. He said that's how he emotionally detached from me gradually over the years. I didn't know he was that miserable, although I did know he wasn't happy. Well, I wasn't happy the whole time either, but I had been trying to pull the family together. But obviously, he chose to leave me. Like he said, he left me, but he didn't leave the kids. It still shouldn't be the reason to cheat. There are just other ways to fix our marital issues. They were still easier to fix before cheating. He came over today. I asked him what exactly his plan was before he got kicked out, since his new place, next building, was already under contract. He said he was trying to figure out our situation at that time and hopefully would know better after he moved. Since he got kicked out all of a sudden, it made him realize things a lot earlier and quicker than he expected. He said he really had no plan with the other woman, especially she is also married. Her kids are 4 and 7-year-old. It was day by day for him. None of them planned to get a divorce. If I didn't check his phone, he would just keep hiding and sleeping with her whenever. When he moved out, no one would ever find out what happened. He wouldn't need to hide much anymore. And if we ever get a divorce, the world and even myself would just blame me, my parents, to cause his miserable life. He is trying to be a good father and person for sure, especially all those things I pointed out during our second MC session. He knew he had been a jerk the whole time. Like I told him before, he isn't a bad person, like he wouldn't kill anyone. But he is not a good person either. He is not kind or has a good heart, cold and mean to people around him sometimes. He is probably trying to be a good partner too. It might be enough to me in the past, but I need more than that now. I need to be loved and valued. Like I told him, I won't settle for less anymore. My kids' ages are actually the best time for me to get divorced. Our youngest probably won't even notice any difference. Our 4-year-old doesn't really understand what's going on. She even asked her daddy during video chat yesterday if he has his other kids running around at the place he is staying. He is staying with his brother and his family at the moment. He didn't know how to answer. She also asked him why he couldn't come home to stay with us like before. He said he did something bad to mommy. It hurts when I hear that each time. I feel like I could probably just leave it the way it is for the next few years. I know it doesn't sound good, but I want to focus myself and the kids for now. He or my marriage is not my top priority at the moment. I don't know if he will really change or forgets that woman. So, the best thing to do is to wait and see, I guess. Does it mean we will need to get divorced if we are separated for too long, even if it's not on paper? We have never filed for anything so far. We live in NY. I honestly don't know. I did bring it up during our MC session yesterday. Since WH and I don't talk or communicate much these days, he is staying with his brother and his family but will move out this weekend. I don't really know what he is up to. So, I told them that I have no idea if they still interact with each other. The MC said my H wouldn't be here if he still talks to her. I said, I don't know the answer, only he knows. I told the MC that he definitely still has feelings for her. It's someone that he had Ia with initially, then Pia the entire time. He said that himself too, that he still thinks of her sometimes these days. I honestly don't know how he will ever get over her. He never truly did the past 20+ years. The more I think about our marriage and how he had treated me the past decade, the more I think about what he did with her, the more I don't think it's worth trying. I am getting really tired mentally. Plus, I'm not seeing anything really changed between me and him or just him so far. We are still the same. We even argued in front of the MC on Zoom yesterday, the same way we used to fight. I really don't know how to make it work. I know I need to fix myself like he pointed out. I need to fix my communication skills since what I say to him or people close to me is offensive sometimes. That's how he emotionally detached himself from me. I don't disagree. I will need to work on that. But he honestly has a lot more to fix himself, like why it was okay for him to cheat in the first place. He just doesn't seem to get it. I don't know if he understands if he doesn't get himself fixed, there is no way our relationship will ever be improved. I didn't know this GF of my age either in the past. I knew there was a girl with that name but didn't know they had a history. He never told me that before. How to tell if a MC is good? I know she isn't that good since there has been 4 sessions, and I still haven't heard any good suggestion from her. She suggested date nights last time like that would reconnect 2 unhappy persons together. She is also my husband's I see, and I haven't seen much change except he seems to be a little more caring toward everyone including myself and a better father. But relationship-wise, no change. Like I said to him during our last session, he doesn't seem to have the heart to know what's the right thing to do with me. I honestly don't know what he should do since they both asked me that question. I just don't feel right about things he has and hasn't done this whole time. I don't get any emotional support from him. I can't even vent much since he would consider that as nagging like I always did to him in the past. To him, it's just another bad thing he did in the past but not anymore. WH has been telling me to work on the relationship with him. But I think he should fix himself first. I am not the cheater here, and I need to heal. I don't even know how to do that alone. I admit that I have to get better with my communication skills since he said my words toward him were always offensive. But even if I improve my part, it doesn't mean our relationship will be fixed. He has a lot more to fix. Like I pointed it out, but he didn't agree. He never truly loved me during the relationship. He was never a good husband. He is broken and lost. He doesn't even seem to know where to start. I told both of them that he probably needs to see a life coach too. They didn't seem it would help. The MC doesn't think it's necessary. I really don't know what to do with him, to be honest. I wish he could just leave me alone with the kids. My WH promised he wouldn't cheat again in this lifetime. In fact, his family doesn't have divorce either. If I decide to leave the marriage, he will be the only divorced man with 2 failed marriages. I know I don't need to worry that. I just feel really bad for my kids. They are just too young, 2 and 4, but I know it's also a good age. I even told him in the beginning if we still can't reconcile by the time our youngest turns 3, we should just go separate way. Kids will start understanding things at that age, just like our 4-year-old now. I know having a timeline like this doesn't sound reasonable, but I don't want to waste too much either since I feel I have wasted the last decade with this guy. I definitely won't consider reconciling until he is truly remorseful. Somehow, I feel he feels sorry for himself more than me. We don't even talk much these days except when he comes to visit the kids on weekends. I am getting used to live with just my kids and parents. They are the best thing to me in the world. My comment: if you decide to leave him, make sure he knows you're leaving him for your family. He chose a affair over his family.